Here is a video on my sail panel installation on my 67 Firebird. So these covered sail panels that come with the headliner kit really suck for the most part. And the fabric on them was not glued down well. And I had installed it and then decided I really hated the wrinkles that were in it. So I took it down again to re-glue it. So a couple of things as you're gluing this. The sail panel has these holes that are for installation, and this is an aftermarket one. And you get these clips that go in there to use to mount it. And my advice would be the first thing you do is throw away these clips because none of these holes line up where they need to on the sail panels. So I re-glued the front, I peeled it off, re-glued the front. But the first thing you want to do is glue the top and the bottom up because those are going to be sitting against the bottom and the top of the car on the sail panel. And then leave these two sides out because they're going to be glued to the pinch weld on the car. When you glue this, glue it straight across on both sides because that is going to make the seam in the car on the top of the sail panel, and you want it to be able to be nice and neat and not see this corner because the sail panels, of course, don't quite fit because they are aftermarket. Same thing down here, just glue it straight over and straight over. On the car, you're going to take your contact cement and cover the installation tacking strip that is in the sail panel. These were used to actually tack down the headliner with these little tiny staples, but every video I've watched on it, you can't do it well. So I decided to do contact cement. So contact cement also on the headliner, and then I'm going to pull the headliner and tack it to the tacking strip with the contact cement, and I'm going to fold it around the bottom so that it holds it down. Then I'm going to take my scissors and make little tiny relief cuts where I need to so that I can get a nice straight non-wrinkle headliner. One note about contact cement is I think you almost can't leave it long enough for it to dry out and not be workable, and it's almost like the longer you leave it the better because it gets really tacky. When I was putting the vinyl roof on at first, I know one of the mistakes I made was I didn't wait long enough for the contact cement to get super tacky. So I'm going to press it down here where it needs it. I use some clips to hold it while it's drying. Okay, so the first thing I did is I screwed the courtesy light into place. And then I took this red wax pencil and I traced an outline around the courtesy light here so that there was a layer of this red wax pencil on the courtesy light. Then I took the sail panel and I lined it up with where it was supposed to be, and I pushed on the sail panel really hard on where the courtesy light was. And then when I took the sail panel down, it had a red outline of where the wax on the courtesy light was. So then I just took a circular saw blade and cut a circle out that matched the size of the circle. So then I took the courtesy light out, and this just happens to be a carpet pad that's 3/8 inch thick. I didn't order insulation for this, and when I started to install it, I wanted insulation in it, but I didn't want to wait for it to come because I wanted to get it done the day I was doing it. So then I'm going to take some of the contact cement, and I'm going to put it right on the pinch weld. And I'm actually going to go all the way up to here, because the sail panel is going to come up just a little bit higher than that, and will make my seam that comes all the way across here. And I'm also going to put it back here, which is the tack strip for the sail panel and the headliner. Alright, so once it is tacky on the edges and on your sail panel lip, we are going to install the sail panel. So the first thing I do is I line it up along the bottom, and there's a little lip right here that I'm trying not to have the cardboard go over, and I want my cardboard to sit pretty much on the inside of this little lip here also. So once I kind of get it lined up on the bottom, I am pushing down into the car. I'm pushing down into the car to try to get this seam as close as possible. And I'm bending it in a little and pushing down at the same time. I'm feeling so I can see where the lip of the pinch weld is and where the cardboard is. And I'm also going to check the back edge here also to try to make sure that my cardboard is fitting on the inside of the pinch weld as much as possible. So once I have it like that, I am pushing up against where the courtesy light goes. And you'll see that the fabric on the top meets the fabric of the board and kind of feels that seam in there. And I'm not going to glue this totally on the edges yet, because I want to get the courtesy light in there first. Okay, so now once you got the courtesy light in, you are going to crank that baby down tight, and what that is going to do is it's going to pull the middle of the sail panel tight against the frame of the car. So see how there's absolutely no give in it there, right? Then, if you look on the edge down here, there is a tiny little bit of give. Get my hand out of the way. See it, right? But that's pretty minimal, and I think probably pretty normal. And then if you look up here, the nice thing is that there's one little wrinkle here that's going to come out with the heat as it sits there. But see how the top of the headliner meets with the edge of the sail panel to make that seam? And so it looks pretty nice and smooth, right? And there isn't really any give. Like, I'm pushing against it, and there really isn't any give and gappage. So that is nice. So then the next step, and here's another problem with these aftermarket sail panels, is that the sail panel is too long from the bottom of the board here to the top of the board here. And here is where the end of the sail panel actually is. And so what I discovered the first time is that if you leave the material coming off, remember how I said to touch that up or together and leave it, this is actually going to go underneath of the molding of the side of the car. So that seam should look like it's just going to come right along. And be really neat looking. Then I'm going to touch all this fabric to the pinch bulb, and then it gets folded over to the other side. And then the trim is going to go on there, and it just is held in by tension. I had already cut this because I had installed it once, remember? And what I learned is I should have left all that fabric there so that it would slide underneath of the molding really nicely. So then back here, this goes into the tack strip, and if you haven't used one of these headliner tools, it works really good to tuck tack strip in there. Sail panel in Courtesy Light, and I have to say I think it looks pretty badass. So you can see it has the finished trim on it. This is what the seam looks like coming across from the sail panel, and that is where the end of the sail panel is. But when you look at it, it looks pretty darn decent. Sorry for the light coming off. And like I said, if you look, if I'm pushing against here, there is no gappage happening. Like, that is solid against there. And the sail panel itself, or the Courtesy Light itself, and then down here along the bottom also, there's a little bit of wiggle room right there, but that is it. And this is the trim in the back window, and see how you come straight across, and then it tucks underneath of the trim, and it has just a really nice finished look about it. There is a little bit of wrinkle right here, but I will be able to take that out with a little bit of heat. Now, for everybody at home that's going, oh, the 67 Firebird didn't have courtesy lights in them, I did find one reference and one body manual that they did have it as an option. My car did not